Good evening, and thank you for listening in. This time I'm going to be talking about aligning global taxation and climate policy for a fairer economy. If you are still listening by the end, I would really appreciate your input. If there's anything I've missed or anything you'd simply like to add, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. So let's get into it. In an interconnected world where technology, globalization, and climate change redefine economic landscapes, taxation must adapt to new realities. Countries face significant challenges as income and production factors transcend borders, highlighting the need for an international cooperation. As the International Monetary Fund emphasizes, global tax coordination can boost revenue, tackle inequality, and combat climate change. This draft explores three key areas: corporate tax coordination, personal tax transparency, and carbon pricing. Coordinating corporate taxation. The two-pillar solution. The two-pillar solution under the inclusive framework offers a path to fairer corporate taxation, as evidenced by its pilot implementation in countries such as France and Japan. In France, this approach has led to an estimated 5% increase in tax revenues from multinational corporations, while Japan reports streamlined tax compliance and reduced profit shifting. These examples demonstrate the potential impact of the two-pillar solution on fostering global economic equality. Pillar 1 allocates a portion of multinational profits to countries where goods and services are consumed, ensuring that digital giants pay taxes where their consumers reside. Though it currently applies to just 2% of global profits, the principle lays a foundation for more equitable taxation. Pillar 2 establishes a 15% global minimum corporate tax, reducing harmful tax competition and curbing profit shifting. By implementing this measure, global corporate tax revenues could rise by 6%, with an additional 8% from reduced tax competition. However, for low-income countries to fully benefit, complementary reforms such as eliminating wasteful tax incentives and strengthening withholding taxes are crucial. Enhancing personal tax transparency. The problem of offshore wealth. Recent exposés like the Panama and Paradise Papers have revealed vast offshore wealth, uncovering trillions of dollars hidden in tax havens. These revelations spotlight specific cases of tax evasion, such as those involving major corporations and political figures, which have heightened public awareness about systematic loopholes in global financial systems. By shedding light on such practices, these papers demonstrate the scale of wealth inequality and the urgent need for robust international regulatory frameworks. These hidden assets not only drain government revenues, but also facilitate corruption and undermine transparency. Solutions. Information sharing. The Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes has seen 163 countries commit to sharing tax information. However, the reliability of data and effective enforcement remain key challenges. Beneficial ownership registries. Public centralized databases reveal the true owners of companies can deter tax evasion. Proper implementation coupled with capacity building for low-income countries is vital. As cross-border remote work grows, tax coordination becomes even more critical to address revenue shifts resulting from different national tax rates. Establishing carbon pricing coordination. Urgency of climate action. Greenhouse gas emissions are driving catastrophic climate change. An international carbon price floor akin to a global minimum tax could incentivize emissions reductions while preserving economic competitiveness. Benefits of a carbon price floor. Discourages emissions. A coordinated floor price limits global warming to safer levels. Revenue allocation. Funds raised could support communities and workers transitioning to a green economy, ensuring equitable progress. Differentiated responsibilities. Tailoring carbon pricing based on a country's income level allows for fairer implementation. Despite short-term energy price shock, long-term commitments to carbon taxation and renewable energy investments must remain steadfast, as they promise significant long-term benefits, such as enhanced energy security, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and the stimulation of green technology innovations that drive economic growth. These efforts offer transformative long-term benefits, including bolstered energy security, significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, and a surge in green technology innovations that fuel economic progress. However, companies often pass the costs on to consumers, particularly in sectors like energy and transportation. In regions such as Western Europe and parts of North America, carbon levies have led to fuel prices increases up to 5%, which disproportionately impact lower-income households and strain their budgets. This burden is compounded by higher costs for goods and services dependent on these industries. Addressing this requires regulatory measures to prevent excessive cost shifting and ensure a balanced distribution of financial responsibilities. For example, Sweden redistributes carbon tax revenues to support low-income communities and invest in renewable energy projects, leading to notable reductions in energy poverty, while Norway employs a tiered system that imposes higher costs on industrial polluters, successfully incentivizing cleaner production methods and reducing industrial emissions. These tailored approaches promote equity and demonstrate how fair carbon tax policies can effectively address climate goals. Robust checks and balances, including transparent regulatory framework and independent oversight, are crucial to ensure accountability and maintain public trust. Wage suppression and historical context of stagnation. The reality of wage stagnation. For over 4 decades, wages have failed to keep pace with productivity and living costs, contributing to growing economic inequality. While the cost of housing, healthcare, and education skyrocketed, increases barely budged. Research shows that in many developed economies, real wages adjusted for inflation have stagnated or even declined since the 70s. Had wages kept pace with productivity growth, the average wage in 2022 would have been nearly 2.5 times the 1979 level. A comparative graph illustrating the divergence between productivity and wages could visually underscore this significant disparity. For example, a 1979 hourly wage of $10.50 an hour would have been equivalent to approximately $26.25 in 2020, after adjusting for productivity growth. This disparity underscores the growing gap between workers' output and earnings, particularly in industries like manufacturing and education, where rising demands and costs have not been matched by equitable pay increases. Impact on home ownership and wealth accumulation. The gap between wage growth and the cost of living has significant consequences. Millennials, for example, face challenges in saving for home ownership due to suppressed wages and soaring property prices. Between 2012 and 2021, while home prices surged by 86%, millennial incomes rose by only 24%. This disparity underscores the urgency of addressing wage suppression to foster economic mobility and reduce wealth inequality. Globalization and wage competition. Globalization of labor markets has intensified wage suppression as companies increasingly outsource jobs to regions with lower labor costs. While this enhances corporate profits, it places downward pressure on wages in higher income countries, further widening economic divides. Wage suppression as legalized exploitation. Wage suppression operates within legal frameworks, unlike slavery, which involves total denial of rights and autonomy. However, the ethical concerns surrounding wage suppression echo the exploitation found in slavery. Workers contribute immense value but receive disproportionately low compensation, perpetuating systemic inequality. By framing wage suppression as legalized exploitation, the argument emphasizes its systemic nature, demonstrating how existing legal frameworks enable exploitation and deepen economic inequality. While provocative, this framing risks alienating some audiences. An alternative could focus on pervasive inequalities and ethical implications of suppressed wages, amplifying the call for urgent reforms to uphold labor rights and economic justice. This perspective highlights the ethical implications while fostering broader support for change. Broader implications of tax and climate policy coordination. Reducing inequality. Global tax coordination ensures that multinational corporations and high net worth individuals contribute their fair share, reducing disparities and fostering economic fairness. For example, the European Union's anti-tax avoidance directive has led to increased tax compliance among corporations, while the OECD's base erosion and profit shifting, or BEPS, framework has helped curb profit-shifting practices. These measures demonstrate how targeted coordination can address inequities, and promote fiscal transparency. Fostering economic stability. Enhanced tax revenues from coordinated policies can fund infrastructure and social programs, bolstering national economies and improving livelihoods. For example, countries like Sweden and Norway have effectively utilized increased tax revenues from wealth taxes to improve public services and advance renewable energy projects. Additionally, Switzerland has invested in its wealth tax revenues into robust social welfare systems, while Argentina leveraged a wealth tax during the pandemic to fund emergency relief efforts, highlighting diverse applications of equitable taxation policies. Mitigating climate change. Collaborative carbon pricing accelerates the transition to sustainable energy, mitigating climate risks while promoting innovation in green technologies. Conclusion. International corporations in taxation and climate policy is no longer optional. It is essential for global economic stability and environmental stability. The two-pillar solution, increased transparency in personal taxation and a coordinated carbon price floor, offers tangible paths forward. By transforming these ideas into actionable policies, nations can foster a fairer, greener, and more resilient global economy. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening in. And if there's anything I've missed or you would like to add, please do so. I would love to hear from you. Thank you.